Thank you, Mr. Chair. England, Spain, Italy, Ireland, Portugal, Scotland. All of those are European countries, among many, that are currently experiencing a serious skilled worker shortage in particular areas. For example, engineering, medicine, and technology. These are the particular areas in which we have too few people applying to the best universities, right? Because there are too few incentives to apply to those particular fields. One of the reasons for that is the sort of a snowball effect that is occurring in European societies. Some fields, for example law, are extremely overpopulated because European societies have a lot of successful lawyers who are promoting this area, and people see that if you want to be rich, famous, and live well, then you have to study law. Ladies and gentlemen, we propose to you today a model that will change those incentives and fix the skilled worker shortage in Europe, or at least, change it for the better. And what we're going to do is that we're going to have the top 20 European universities make some particular courses freely available on the internet, right? We are talking about courses like medicine, technology, and several types of engineering, but we also think that this list can include other courses if we think that there are some other fields in which we need more skilled workers, right? No, thank you. So, what we put to you today is basically three things. First of all, I'm going to explain why having those courses on the internet is a particularly good method of increasing knowledge of those particular fields, increasing their popularity, and having more skilled workers in those fields in general, right? Secondly, I'm going to speak to you, thank you, how it actually reduces the competitive advantage or the comparative advantage that US universities currently have over European universities because they're already providing some of their courses online. My second speaker, Paul, is going to talk to you about on the third point, how our model is going to have a positive effect on the world education in general, and that is going to provide the people who didn't get to the universities that they wanted with a second chance. So, moving on to the first point, skilled workforce. But before that, Mikhail.
Okay, if your claim is that individuals pursue engineering as unimportant, how putting those lectures online will change that perception?
Yeah, this is what the first argument is about, so hold on. Now, okay, so basically what we think right now is that the snowball effect that I've already told you about, I think that some areas that are easy to get jobs in, like engineering, because we have the skilled worker shortage, right? And they actually are also well paid or under-promoted in society because of the very snowball effect that I was talking about. A society that's got a lot of successful lawyers has a tendency to have an oversubscription to law because those people show with their success that this field is a particular field with which you can make a lot of money, be successful, and all the rest of that. Right? So basically what we think, that when we put those courses online, what it does is that first of all, it raises awareness, for example, in people, how interesting those courses might be. No, thank you. So people who perhaps didn't have an interest before seeing those videos will develop that interest, and therefore engineering, technology, and all the rest of that may increase in popularity, and therefore we'll have more people applying, right? So we think in general, by raising awareness and popularity with those courses, no thank you, we're going to have more people applying to those courses in general, right? But what we also think is that the people who are currently studying those very subjects, engineering, medicine, and technology, for example, those people are able to gain a better education by watching those courses being made available from the top universities. So our plan has two benefits in that sense. Not only are we going to increase awareness and reduce the skilled worker shortage by having more workers, but we are also going to provide better information and better education to the people who are studying those courses in universities that are not that good, right? So these are the two benefits. No, thank you. So basically on this point, we've brought you two benefits. But moving on to the next point. First of all, we think that the internet in particular is a very efficient means of distributing education, right? We believe that people who are going to apply to those courses and succeed in those courses most probably have access to internet. So we think that this kind of is a positive side of our plan as well. And why we think this is particularly important on the second point of competition is that currently the universities in the US have an advantage over the European universities, right? we have some miserable statistics in which like 90% of prospective students from Asia and Africa, for example, go to US universities instead of Europe, right? Like US universities are much more popular, right? So basically what we think that causes this popularity is that the students can have an insight into what these universities are doing by actually watching those courses and seeing for themselves how good the quality of teaching is, right? European universities apparently don't do that. And we think that this is a comparative advantage for US universities, which is fatal for European countries, particularly in a situation when they're in a skilled worker shortage. So basically, when MIT and Harvard are already doing it, then what we propose is that Oxford, Cambridge, and LSE do that as well, right? So we get more people applying into Europe and into those particular areas from countries that are currently sending students, from which students are currently going into the US, because they basically have a better publicity program. So what we think about this competition point, by making those videos available, we're going to have more people subscribing to those universities from countries that currently prefer US. So, in general, what we have put to you today is, by making those videos available on the internet, not only are we going to raise awareness and popularity of those courses, right? But also the people that are currently learning those courses are going to have access to better information, better education, and therefore the skill levels of the workers in those fields are going to be better off overall. Secondly, what we put to you is that the currently US universities have a comparative advantage, which we will reduce by implementing our model. So, ladies and gentlemen, our model is a step towards resolving the skilled worker shortage in Europe, and for that reason, I'm very happy to propose it.
Right, thank the speaker for his speech and invite the first speaker of opposition and the leader of opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We'd like to point out a couple of things in this debate. First of all, European universities are not lagging behind the United States because they have worse publicity programs, but because the United States had better investment into research into universities that they have. Most of Harvards are privately charged way more than European universities do. That's one thing. Our investment into research and development is higher by almost twice in the United States when it is in Europe, ladies and gentlemen. And the publicity program is only the byproduct is only the kind of a byproduct to show off how good you are, rather than something which improves you as yourself. I'm going to show you how the European universities, as a matter of fact, are going to be harmed by this policy. So, just starting. The first point we want to clarify. As far as we understood from the first government, they said the European universities make courses and put them online. Ladies and gentlemen, this is called distance learning. The universities already do that, that's one thing. Another thing, the people get access to it not because they just can see it online, they get access to it if they get admitted into a program and they pay for a certain program and they get a degree and diploma in the end. This is not the same thing as putting lectures of your professors presenting certain cases, you know, like the whole vegetarian thing, online for absolutely everybody to see. Another thing is, when you follow this line of a lecture, you do not become an engineer simply because you see how good a teacher is presenting some certain material. So the whole point of the first government, or the people are going to, you know, the whole success stories are going to be developed because the people are going to see these lectures online and etc. Since they're not the same thing as courses, not something that we have to be proposed, they're not going to be better engineers, they're not going to become engineers, they're not going to be any successful stories anymore. No thanks, you had your chance. Now, another issue of why we need this policy that we want to challenge on the opposition side is the idea of, okay, so we have this skill shortage, and we say, the question is that Mikhail actually pointed out, if people are not interested in these engineering courses, in anything, why would they be interested, even if they're put for free online? Why would I, as a student, as a person, would want, no thank you, to look over a long course of something I might have been interested in, or something I do not understand, and then get interested in the whole issue at all. But even if that would be true, what we say, there are absolutely different measures to improve, you know, publicity of engineering courses, of any university courses whatsoever, by showing real success stories of those students that have already graduated from your programs, by giving publicity, putting more information on your sites, by showing off how good these programs are during the open days and other events and etc. There are lots of other ways how you can improve the publicity of your programs and highlight the quality of your programs, saying we have certain good professors etc. who have lots of degrees and so on and so forth, without having to implement this policy, but that will have certain harms that I'm going to be proving to you. But before that, yes.
Okay, if you say that there are ways to advertise your university, why not to add one more way and to advertise your university?
Okay, thanks. Because as I'm going to prove right now, because we have certain harms from this policy that we have. It's not just a form of advertisement, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about. We're talking about completely revealing the inside of your university's lecture, of how your professors teach and what kind of methods you present. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my perspective. We say that this equals the impairment of intellectual property of the that the universities have. We do not, so probably believe so. We see the fact that Coca-Cola is not asked to reveal any components of their production to the wider public simply by the means of the fact that other people are going to be interested in, are going to have other companies, likewise Coca-Cola and etc. We say we do that because Coca-Cola as a private company has an intellectual property. It is commercial secret, that particular product. We see the same thing is with universities, their lectures. What happens, the exact quality of their studies, as their content of their programs, are a certain intellectual property that they have. We see, why is that so? First of all, lots of universities are private. I mean, like the top universities in the United States. But even if they're public, the universities have autonomy, ladies and gentlemen, granted by the state, that obliges them to act in the best way they see possible, because they are the ones who decide how higher education should be structured, the one with a certain, with a certain capacity to develop higher education. So how do we see that that impairs their kind of, let's call it, commercial secret? We say the contents of a lecture is not just presenting what your professor, who your professor is, as in any publicity ad. It's showing how your professor teaches. He shows his teaching methods. It reveals the certain research results that he would want to present from his work or from the work of his universities that he wouldn't want to be disclosed in any other way, ladies and gentlemen. It shows the whole contents of what the person presents, which is not available for public for free. It's available only for most student universities. We see the whole content is something that you can easily copy. You could copy the methods, you could take on the research results, you could take on whatever the content the person is talking about, and you can use it to improve your own university. We say that perfectly impairs the right the universities have to the programs that they have, not only on the principle level, that it is their product that they do not want to reveal, but also on the practical level, that it allows them to be the top universities. It allows them to compete effectively between themselves and the rest of the world and improve themselves as much as possible. It takes away also the incentive to be the best possible, because you see that you do not get you are not rewarded by being so good and so exclusive and having certain programs that nobody else can actually copy and take away from you. Therefore, both on the principle and on the practical level, ladies and gentlemen, these things are bad, and this violates the right to having this intellectual property. My partner is going to develop the point how it actually decreases the competition between universities and students themselves. But I'll also point out another thing. If I heard correctly, the very big ending of the speech, this model is supposed to somehow level the whole equality thing in higher education. But the fact is, what we're doing is we're giving away for free something that other students in those universities are paying for. I'm going to be paying $16,000 for my course in LSE, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm putting as the one who has to pay for the fact that other students are going to be getting for free. We say this is unfair for the whole because it does away the whole principle of unfairness, that you are going to be the one who's going to be taking burden, even though the benefits are going to be distributed for absolutely everybody. Since you get into universities based not even on your money, but because of your academic excellence, we also see that as a bad thing. For all these reasons, we beg you to oppose. Thank you.
talk to each other, that's fine. We're trying to keep it down. It just bounces all around the room. Thank you very much for the speech. It gives us great pleasure to invite the second speaker from the opening government, the Deputy Prime Minister.
Okay, we see that one thing is true that what they actually agree with. They agree with the fact that by our plan, we'll also be making other universities better. We'll be improving their teaching methods, their teaching ways, and this in turn, as we see, improves education. And if we improve education, we think that's a good enough reason to put this plan into action, ladies and gentlemen, today. I have 6 points for both, first of all, and then I'll move on to my own constructive, which is the increasing world education and actually how through this process, the people who are left behind, the people who do not get into Harvard or Yale, but have good enough results, can also benefit from this and can get a second chance. First of all, the first point they brought against it was like, no, it's not this commercialized courses that make a difference between America and Europe, but it's the investment part, right? We're saying that yes, there are many different factors that contribute to the popularity of universities. That is true. We're saying we're dealing with one of them. We're dealing with the one that we actually can deal with in the present moment, right? We're saying that yes, America, unfortunately, or fortunately, it doesn't really matter, has more of an economic growth and a better economy in general than we do, right? So we can't really, put investment or invest more in stuff because we just don't have the resources for that. What we do have the resources for is our plan, and we see that that is one way that we can improve education and that we can improve this type of competition that we have against American universities. No, thank you. The second point they talked about was this, they took a long time discussing that, no, but these are online courses, we already have these things, right? You pay, and then you get your course, etc. Well, as the actual statement, or as the thing we're debating on, right, it actually said that it's free, right? So we're saying we're making it available online for free, which is completely different. This is not one of those courses actually paid for, and so we don't really see how this is in any way contributing to their case. The third thing is, okay, we have this big problem with the fact that you don't actually get a diploma, right? And I think that we're going to discuss a lot about how even if you don't get a diploma, if you have access to these courses, it's still a really good thing for you, right? Even if you are in, like, for example, say, I'm not a very good university, if you have the potential, right? If you have the potential to actually learn, and if you have these courses available, you do have a chance to increase your education and to increase your potential to its maximum. And we're saying that that is a very good thing. Would you agree, Matt?
Of course not. If I wasn't good enough and didn't get into a good university, why am I should be granted this right? The others are paying for it because they were academically more superior and because they're also very often paying for that.
Okay, two reasons. First of all, because we don't always see that these people who get into good universities are academically superior, but there's a great deal of luck in it involved as well. Like if you actually have funding, if you haven't had enough money to go there, if you have enough resources, right, we're saying that's a big problem. And secondly, we're saying that if we're increasing the education of other people who do have the potential to actually, apply the knowledge that they get from these courses, that still means that we have a better education, that still means we have more qualified people, and that's still a good thing if we have people who are better educated, right? We see that that's true in this case. Fourth thing. So what exactly makes it interesting, right? We're saying that you can be interested in a subject that you don't even know about, right? We're saying that right now most of these subjects are not even brought out in detail anywhere. We're saying that most people, before they go to university, they actually look at what they think that they might be interested in, right? But we're saying that if we have these courses online, they actually have some kind of reference points to look at. Okay, maybe I'll look at this course, let's see how this first course appears to me, and they'll actually have some kind of interest. If they don't have that right now, we're better in the situation. They have more knowledge, they know, they have more information about the courses that they can take, and we see this as a good thing. No, thank you, madam. Fifth point, impairment of intellectual property. Pretty much like they're a big case under this. First of all, we see that MIT and Harvard already do this, right? So we're saying that no, these universities will not be angry and will not have all of their teaching methods removed and how that is bad. And we see that if MIT and Harvard are doing this and people still want to go to MIT and Harvard, we see that there's something else besides the fact that I can look at the courses online that make me want to go to these universities. It's not the actual methods that you choose, right? We're saying that it's the way in which these methods are presented. The people who teach at MIT and Harvard are very, very intellectual people, very smart people, right? Even if other universities copy their methods, we're saying that's fine, because they're still increasing the amount of education that they can give out, and this is good for society. And we're saying that if we see the MIT and Harvard have nothing against this, then we're saying that no, it is fair, and the only thing we're actually doing is increasing the overall general educational level. So on to my constructive point, how we actually increase the world educational level. So what right now we have, right, is we have lots of qualified people who do not get into a university. We have more and more people applying for universities like Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, all of these universities, but they don't get in. And it's not because they don't have good enough test results. No, they have, actually even better than good enough test results. The fact is that these universities do not expand enough, right? They don't have the capacity to every year bring in more and more people, yet we have more and more people who actually do get these test results that are good enough, or should be good enough, to get into these universities. What this means, right, is we have a lot of people who don't get into these universities, who actually should get into these universities. No, thank you. We're saying that is the biggest problem. We're saying that in most cases, also people who do have, the capacity or do have the intelligence and should be allowed to have this kind of education, they have a lot of other factors as well. For example, the fact that, just simply that the university doesn't pick them out of luck, or that the university has no space, or the fact that they do not get any type of funding, right? We're saying that getting into Harvard is pretty hard if you do not have the money to actually pay for it in general, right? We're saying there's a lot of factors that really hurt people who are smart enough, but who just don't get the chance because of these factors. We're saying that this is one way to stabilize that balance, right? Because now we're using their potential. They have the potential, right, to actually learn. They just don't get into the university, which means that if they actually see these courses, they'll still use their potential, right? People who actually have that effort, people who want to learn, they will use these courses, they will better themselves, and we will have more people who are better qualified. And this works under every type of person. Whether you're in like an average university and you genuinely just want to improve yourself, you will get a course, and if you're also looking at these courses online, at the end you'll be better qualified, which is better for society in general, right? Secondly, if you're not in an actual university, these courses might actually make you want to go into a university, or will give you some kind of idea what the courses that you're actually learning about. And lastly, if you've already finished university, right, you see a lot of people still would benefit from these courses. For example, if they want to change their education, or if they want to change like the subject that they're learning. So we think that for all types of people, these courses are beneficial, and they're beneficial for society because in the end we get people with a better education, or a better understanding of what's going on, and will solve the working crisis and the unskilled labor crisis that we have in Europe currently. For all these reasons, thank you. Please propose the motion.
Right, thank you, Speaker, for his speech, and invite the second speaker from the opening opposition team, the Deputy.
Mr. Speaker, I will do a rebuttal, and then I will add additional material to what Evgenia has already presented to you, and I will present you the arguments on how this motion harms the competition between the universities, and secondly, I will talk to you about how under such motion, the academic achievements between the high school students will be lesser and harmed. So first of all, let's start with the rebuttal. Now, what they're claiming here is that, but look, it will increase the publicity, it will be so great. You think that, Evgenia has very nicely explained to you that there are other brilliant measures to increase the publicity, and we can do that without causing harm to the universities. So let's use them. Secondly, I think that they're really mixed up, because on one hand they talk about lectures, but on the other hand, the essence about which they're talking about are actually courses. For instance, they claim, look, but Harvard has these lectures, etc. We think that this is a distant learning courses, they are paid, they are not free online. People pay for these courses, and we believe that exactly because they are so mixed up, the whole case fails because the courses they teach you. The lectures are just, some filmed material which you can overlook, but you do not learn, pediatrics, for instance, or you do not learn atomic engineering. You're just watching some film material. You cannot actually work in this sector without having a course, without having a diploma. Now, they also claim that they have this whole argument about how some individuals do not get to the university only through a stroke of bad luck. Really, this is very false, Mr. Speaker. First of all, we do not want to give this candy for a loser, by harming the private sector. really be learning at those universities because they're not good enough. Secondly, we believe that if, as they claim, some students just had some bad luck and weren't enrolled to the university for some reasons, please remain seated. We believe that in such case there might be two scenarios. First of all, we think that the admissions to these top universities are very brilliant. They are very accurate. They have these excellent commissions of admissions, which take the admission process very seriously, and we do not believe that the admission process fails. If we see the only reason why a worthy student would not get into the top university is that it could fail its high school exams, but we believe that there is always a way out. We believe that you can retake your exams and then go to the top university if you are that good. So we believe that the whole argument is really relevant because it is contradictory, to the main principle that, only because some certain individuals benefit, we shouldn't harm the whole, private sector of certain, of private universities and the whole actors in the sector. So they never provided us a reason why we should cause a harm to the sector only because, maybe some individuals would benefit. Don't you agree?
Stop using infringement of intellectual property as an argument. Tell us how our Harvard and MIT were solved after they made their lectures available online.
First of all, we want to stop talking about intellectual property rights because we believe that this exactly applies to this motion. It's a brilliant argument. And secondly, I didn't clearly understand the second half of your EOI, but I think it was something again about how Harvard has these free courses. Once again, I repeat, it doesn't have free distance learning courses. It's payable. We believe that if it puts some lectures online, this is not the same as courses, and the arguments don't apply to this occasion. Now, let's go to my arguments, and let's talk about how, under such motion, the competition between the universities will be harmed. Because, Mr. Speaker, we believe that competition in higher education is necessary. It is needed. We believe that it increases the quality, because the universities, they compete between each other, and they strive for excellence, so that the top students would choose these universities. We believe that the top universities also compete with the average universities, because sometimes the line is really thin between those universities, and there are many factors on which based the students choose the university, like for instance the finances as well, and the geographical location. We believe that this harms, the motion harms the possibility to fairly compete between the universities. It creates inequality because only the top universities are made to disclose this information, but however the average universities do not, and not only the average, the lower scale universities as well. We believe that since the lectures are one of the main measures to compete, as Virginia has explained to you, when she told to you that during the lectures, the lecturers, they disclose their theories, their knowledge, their research, which belong to these particular lecturers which were hired by the universities. So we believe that since the lectures are one of the main measures to compete, through this motion, you take away this measure. And we believe that the competition becomes extremely inefficient between the universities. And the top universities might start losing their image. And therefore the students might become less motivated to go to these universities due to some geographical or financial issues, because it might be cheaper to go to an average scale university than to LSE, for instance. And since LSE already puts the whole lectures online, you might just check that out there. We believe that the students might come up with this rational choice to not choose these top universities through such motion. And what happens then is that the universities, they lose the intellectual potential of the students. Firstly, we also believe that the individuals won't develop their true capacity, which might have developed by them going to these universities. And in the end, we believe that the whole society loses through this. And the second point is, Mr. Speaker, a very swift one, is that this actually reduces the academic achievements in the high school, because not only do the students try to learn stuff for life in the high school, we believe that one of the main reasons for the students to strive for academic excellence in the high school is that they would be able to get into these top universities. And we believe that if the image of the universities would be harmed through such motion, we think that the students in high school might be less motivated to achieve excellent academic results. And we believe that through this, also the whole academic level of society will suffer. So, due to all these reasons, I strongly beg you to oppose the motion.